right, excited to have my next guest back on the Sports Card Nation podcast. It's been a little bit, but he's been on before. We're very familiar with each other, and a lot has changed since the last time he's been on the show. We're definitely going to talk about all that. So, want to welcome back Big Tim Shepler. Welcome back.
Hey, John, thank you so much for having me on. Yeah, a lot's changed. I'm about 125 pounds less of Big Shep than I was back then. But no, it's great. It's great to be back on and talk the hobby. I love it.
I don't know. You might have to change your nickname. I don't know if we can call you Big Shep anymore.
Yeah, everybody was calling me Smedium Shep and not so Big Shep anymore. But hey, we've had a moniker for a while. You got to keep it. At least I'm still tall. I didn't get shorter. I just got
Well,
less wide.
Well, not yet. As someone who's older than you, I'm not trying to be Debbie Downer, but that will happen as
Yeah.
you get older. But again, good to talk to you. Like you said, like we both said, a lot has changed. You've done. You took the leap. I like to call it going full time in the hobby. Talk about that. You're a dad. You're a husband. Like myself. Talk about whether that was a difficult decision. Maybe it was. I don't know. That's why I'm asking you. You don't have to necessarily name the company, but kind of what you were doing and making that decision. How easy or not easy was it?
Well, it was funny because the decision kind of was made for me. So, February of 2021, I was in the health insurance industry, working for a general agency. Long story short, the company I had worked for, we merged and became bigger, and I got a new role about 6 months previous, and it was all good. And then they said, hey, we have this new spot we're making just for you, and I said, awesome, let's do it. It was going to revolve a lot around my talents, but long story short, I didn't have enough work, and I kept bugging them. And I get a message on a Thursday. It's like, hey, can you meet at 4:45 on a Zoom? And I'm like, that's weird. Kind of knew it was coming. They say, hey, listen, we're gonna eliminate the position. You have a severance. You can file unemployment and go on your way, and just leave your stuff. And thank you very much. And I couldn't have been happier, John. I can't tell you, losing a job and I wasn't happy. I was spending about 40%, maybe 45% of my day on doing working on the podcast I was hosting at the time, working on my eBay store, Twitter, Twitter sales, all of that stuff. So I was already doing the hobby almost as much as I was focusing on my real job just because I had the free time. And went home, told the wife, and I did that all the way through October of 21. And I was doing a show in August, and it was one of our first shows back. And I just got put in a different spot at the local show, and a guy across the way heard me talking and said, hey, I know your voice. Do you do a podcast? I was like, yeah, I do. And we went back and forth. He goes, I listen. And he goes, I'm opening a shop here at the end of the year. We start talking. I was like, we exchanged information. And I ended up talking to my sister about it. And she's like, well, my friend's husband's opening a shop, and ends up it's the same guy. My wife was friends with my sister's friends with his wife, and we ended up connecting and opening this shop in November of 21, True Sportscards and Collectibles in Rockland. And we've been doing it almost a full year now, and I love it. So it was an easy transition, something that was probably going to happen for me anyway at some point in time. But somebody made the decision to say, hey, listen, you're not going to be in the health insurance industry. I was thankful for that. Ended up rolling in. I was selling cards on my own, doing that for six months or whatever that was on my own, doing very well, looking to move forward with that and grow that even more. But an opportunity came to open a shop and be part of that and be part of something more. So it was kind of like those a mixed blessing. And I love those things because I think sometimes you're meant to meet people at certain times in your life for a certain reason, and it came together. So
Yeah, how crazy is that, man? That's like serendipity.
yep.
I mean, and not just in one thing, but two things. Here, you're set up across from this budding store entrepreneur, and he recognizes your voice. I mean, if you're in a different part of the show, maybe that conversation never takes place. And then your sister knows, directly or indirectly knows about this. I mean, I don't know how big of a town you live in, but mean, that's like serendipity.
Well, yeah, I mean, Sacramento's you know, 1.5 million, 2 million people, the general area. So yeah, I mean, it's and he just moved up from Stockton, which is about an hour away. So just kind of weird how everything fell into place, right time type thing. And you know, I'm a big believer, like I said, in that, and I think that it's really worked out well. So
Yeah, no doubt. I had, I didn't go full time in the hobby, but I was in the transportation industry. Not going to lie, hating that. And a lot of my friends who are teachers, and I coached high school football and baseball, worked with kids in other forms and factors, and they knew I really was not, my job was getting to me, and they're like, "You ought to look into getting in the teacher profession, be a TA. You got to take a test." And so I had started to lay that groundwork, and my company found out that I was kind of looking for an exit strategy, and they told me, much like you, you're no longer needed here, and that's actually what I was kind of dragging my feet a little bit, Tim. I was doing it, but not as quick. But when that day came, I had no choice but now I better do it,
yeah,
and I did. I can speak for for myself. It's I wish I had done it sooner. That's my only regret. Wish I wasn't a little bit dragging my feet when I was and enjoying it. And I'll have you answer this. I mean, the less stress for me, the hours are better. My kids, my kid is 22, so I don't have any young kids. I know you do. Kind of talk about how it's positively maybe affected even like your family dynamic.
yeah. I mean, I have two kids. One's about to turn 3, and my oldest will be 5 in April. So they're little, and I'm old, so they keep me on my toes, which is great. But when this all happened, it gave me more time to spend with them, to uh, you know, make dinner with them, to go to t-ball and just do the things that normally I would have missed or only seen part of. And running, and since running the shop definitely is busy and takes up a lot of time, but I have a little bit more freedom in being in charge of my own life, and that work-life balance has been great. So I can say that I got to a point in my life where I was like, listen, I'm tired of working my hump off for somebody else and them making the decision on my future, no matter how good of an employee or how bad of an employee I was. My future was never decided on that. It was always decided on a financial thing or way somebody felt. And you know, to be in a spot, you know, in my early 40s, to say, listen, I'm going to take a chance on myself, and I know I'm going to do it. If we fail, and I'm part of that failure, then at least I know it was on me and it wasn't on somebody else making mistakes and errors. But I wholeheartedly believe this is something that since I was a little kid, I was destined to be able to do, and put everything in my heart and my soul into it and make it work right. And not every day is perfect. Not everything we do is exactly the way we want it to be, but it's freed up me to be a better dad, to be more confident in myself, and just to kind of let my kids like, listen, don't let anybody tell you no, and bet on yourself. So it's been the work life balance thing's been a lot better than working a 9 to 5. I can tell you that.
Yeah, no doubt. And I think with less stress, it's just a healthier way to live. And what's nice is, you built that store like it was brand new. So you're building it
Yep.
from day one to where you're going and where you are now. You know, I owned a store for 6 years. It was a great time. I owned a store when the hobby was a much different place, 1992 to 97. Um, but you know, everyone thinks, and you said that in one of your responses, everyone thinks it's easy or it's all fun and games, and it is fun. I don't want to make it sound like you said, it's not that 9 to 5 necessarily, but you got to work at it. There, roadblocks even in that. Kind of talk about the difference between that, but that it's some of the difficulties in building a name for yourself and a store
Yeah.
from nothing to where you're going.
Yeah, I can tell you, card fatigue is a real thing, and I've experienced it here. All the guys in the shop have. I let my stuff go, and just sit in my home office for about 4 months without even touching it. I would add to it, but it would just get piled in. Uh, and I was very organized when we started the shop, and my home office became, it looked like a tornado had hit it. But card fatigue one's a real thing. There is a lot of stuff that I think too. If you talk to breakers, you see all the glitz and glam of opening the cards, and here you're on the shop floor, you're getting to talk, sports, and you're getting to watch sports, and you're getting to watch people open packs, and you're doing trades and buying and selling. All of that's great fun. But behind the scenes stuff, no one sees. It's trying to source product and supplies. Supplies were terribly hard to get when we first opened last November. Uh, it's making sure that everything is priced accurately. We're staying competitive there. When you take in large collections, getting through that quickly and efficiently, but making sure that it's done in the right way. And nobody understands like dollar and $3 cards, and then how much after a while you're going through and you're looking at mosaic retail color parallels, and you're like, is this hobby, is this retail, is this blue, is it, and all that happens. It really takes a toll, so they don't see that stuff of it, but it's all that hard work and stuff really pays off when you see the smiles and the happiness out on the floor when people are opening packs and doing that stuff. But there is a lot of tedious, not so glamorous or fun work that goes into doing this full time. But at the end of the day, it's the end result, and it's better than pushing paperwork or responding to emails. Those type, or sitting in Zooms where it's someone yammering on for 45 minutes that's 15 levels above you that you'll never ever get to see or know, and they don't know who you are. You see what your work goes into because it goes right out onto the floor, and someone gets to go through it and enjoy it. So
Yeah, that the last part of what you said was giving me flashbacks myself. So that rings very
hmm
close to home. We haven't talked about the store name. It's True Sports Cards in Memorabilia,
yeah.
and kind of talk about what your role was there. What are your kind of daily functions? What you're responsible for? I think that gives people, kind of an idea that it's not always like you said, just ripping packs and watching, games on TV.
Yeah, no, definitely. I'm the general manager. Didn't start out that way. I was just going to be a full timer. We had a different gentleman that was the GM before, but realized that the glitz and clam stuff was his forte, and not so much the effort stuff. So within about, I don't know, 10 days or so, he decided that he was going to go on his own venture and do his own thing. So it was like a field promotion. So I was happy to take that role. I kind of do a little bit of everything. More now as we hit the year mark. We've added some guys to the team, some more guys to the team. I'm kind of overseeing everything. So wax acquisitions, scheduling, labor. We have an upcoming show that I've been putting a lot of my time and effort into. But it's kind of I have my hands a little bit in everything, and so it's nice because I kind of can move my day around. We expanded. We have a website, eBay store. We've been doing whatnot. So we do whatnot Wednesdays, and it's really like the shop owner Emran and I getting on there, getting wild and loud. It's old. It reminds us of the old shop at home network things with Don West, and we're yelling and screaming on there and having a bunch of fun. We've kind of put that on hold here while we prepare for the show. There's so much going on, but it's nice. I mean, because if I want to help customers and spend time doing it, I can do that. If I have to go back and do gritty work in the back, like sourcing stuff, I do that. Writing the schedule, making sure the guys are happy, and working with the local community. We're trying to really be a focal point in the community, and do things like that. So getting out and doing meet and greets, things like that. So it's been crazy, and also too, it's not bad when you get to go to dinner with Hall of Fame athletes that are doing signings in your store. So that's been a huge bonus as well, and talk to them like they're an old family friend.
Yeah, definitely. It's work and fun, both. And yeah, Don, are you knocking things over
Oh
like
yeah.
Don West?
Oh, and I'm mispronouncing like parallels, like when we're doing really quick like flash sales, because like Prism, there's 45, 50 colors in Prism. So I'm like, hey, this is blue circles, or it's shiny red, and it's, I don't know what it's called because I'm trying to go so fast and put them up, and my guys are losing their minds behind me. It's red ice. I'm like, yeah, it's shiny red, and I'm just screaming and yelling, and it's a whole lot of fun.
Yeah, you mentioned something early, and I saw you. I remember when you posted the picture of your card room, like when you said like stuff was just piling up, and you
Yep.
said, "Hey, this is not how I usually do things, but check this out." And speaking of that, I know kind of what you collect, and you do some sets, and you collect your guys, and Brett's your guy, and you have some teams. Being now a general manager of an LCS, has that changed how you hobby at all, or no?
It's really focused me down. I'm just really focused on, I don't pick up as much as I used to that gets outside of my PC. So it's George Brett all the way, and then I pick up Buster Posey, and then I have a small PC to Garrett Hampson, which I have quite a large PC, but he's a utility infielder for the Rockies. He happens to be a friend of one of my he's a cousin of one of my buddies, and so that's why I collect him. And I work on Topps baseball sets from the '70s through now, and that's just kind of really where I'm at. Everything else though has been like, hey, like sell off, sell off. I'm trying to really condense down things, but you do get a different perspective on, like I said, the card fatigue. I did personally enjoy my own cards for quite a while, just because I was so focused here and wanting to make this and get this to a certain level. And so lately, I've been spending a little more time doing that and enjoying it a little bit more. But when I look at them, I don't get some of the cards that aren't personally attached. Like I said, like to the PC, like it's a lot easier to let go and understand that I can take this and turn it into to money to go buy more of the stuff I really really enjoy, even though it has some value now. It's much easier for me to move that product, and I thought I was already there, a year and a half ago, and it's gotten way more refined down as of we sit today.
Yeah, here's a question. I'm going to put you a little bit on the hot seat. A George Brett walks in the store, a person selling it. Like, do you have free reign to buy that for you? How does that work being in the store
Well,
setting?
the shop will buy it, and then I'll work out a deal with the shop. So we'll take it in, and usually if it's like I don't personally do a lot of the, I'll do trades and stuff, but I have a kid in that works for me, and he's been popping in and out. His name's Pete. Sacramento Cards. If you're out there anywhere, he's great. He's 18 years old. This kid is a whiz with cards, and so I let him handle a lot of the buying and the transactions. One, because it energizes him. It's really his forte, and he loves doing it. So I let him kind of deal with it. And then once he brings a card in, or we take a card in, I'll deal with him, or I'll deal with them and the shop owner and say, "Hey, listen, this needs to come to me." And funny as you say that, we have a card here that just recently came in, a Trent Williams rookie autograph. Now, Oklahoma, Trent Williams, if you don't know, he didn't sign a lot. He has his contenders autograph that year says no autograph stamped on the autograph card because he refused to sign them and couldn't come to a deal. And actually, these SP Authentics, I believe, halfway through the run, he stopped signing him with a disagreement. He thought he was signing his name, his hands away. He was signing so much. So there's not a lot of Trent Williams rookie autos. I was an offensive lineman. I love the way this guy plays, and so this one came in. So I'm trying to work out a deal today. I'm trying to work out a deal to take that home and add to the PC. So we'll see what happens.
That's funny. And you know what? It might work out better for you because when you're trying to buy something you have a PC attachment for, right? You potentially have the risk of maybe paying too much for it.
Hmm.
But having this young man, Sacramento Cards, kind of be the guy, that's less likely to happen with
Yep.
him doing it. Probably saves you. It probably saves you in the long run.
Oh yeah, and it saves me from having that like anxious smile on my face trying to do the deal. So, and it's neat because I've also had customers bring stuff in and they're like, "Hey, like here's a bunch of old Bretts I had," or "Hey, I pulled this," and we'll work. And I usually like I said, let the shop will buy it, and then we'll work a deal there. And it's just the way we work here. We want the customers to feel comfortable doing a deal with us as the shop, and it just makes it easier for the customers and us to do it like that. There's no confusion of when something's happening on the floor, where it's going or what's going to happen to it. We'll deal with it later, and then I'm not so worried about what we took it in for. I'll double it, triple it if I need to, especially if it's a George Brett card. the shop will come up and take advantage of me, which I'm fine with because we're going to do well as a shop and I'm going to do well as a collector. So everybody wins.
Yeah, it's a win. It's a win-win, and it's great. It sounds like you've got sort of a system in place. A lot of
Yep.
times you hear with store, not even just card stores, but just businesses in general, right? They don't have sort of a system, and that's where things go awry, right? Things get off the track. So having that sort of everyone knows what their role is and does it well, that's a huge difference maker. I want to touch on wax. You mentioned wax. Uh, about the Fanatics deal. It's now old news. Kind of a two-pronged question, Tim. Uh, the difficulties of wax, acquiring wax for the store now, and are you concerned once this transition happens with at least the three major sports with Fanatics getting a licensing, especially being a newer store?
Yeah.
Are you concerned long term about how that might look and go down?
I actually no. I'm actually pleasantly happy with I think the what's going to happen in the future. One, we really truly don't know exactly how Fanatics is going to necessarily release the products out. But one right now, we work with two of the major distributors. One happens to be right up the street from us, so we have a really great relationship with them. So we're able to get it wax and what we need. And with Fanatics taking over, I think what's going to happen is you're going to see a lot of the, talking with these distributors. They have a lot of people, old time dealers on their books that they've had for decades, that because of their spend or what they have, and they only do the one time buy, or they're not rebuying, or different things, or they're kind of set. And as Card Collector 2 says, the LCS 1.0, the original version, they're still there. They have a lot of these folks still on their books. And so what this is going to happen is all these old agreements and all these old spins go away when Fanatics takes over. So everybody starts at zero. And at least that's kind of what it sounds like. And you're going to, go in and everybody's going to be on a level playing field, and it's going to go from there. So I'm kind of excited about that. Fanatics has a distribution of, they deal with all this merchandise for all the major league sports anyway. I feel like they're going to probably have different arms the way they go about getting product out. You've heard them talk about they want to make sure that they still get shopped directly to the shops. So it'd be like being able to buy Topps Direct, Panini Direct, which those accounts are very hard to obtain and have. I know someone locally that has a Topps Direct account, and what they pay versus what the distributor pay, you pay the distributor, even though both prices are good, one's a whole lot better than the other. And I can tell you, going right to the person making the product is the best for the shops around. We can provide a lower price on the floor to the customer, who's the true end consumer. It takes one of the middlemen out of that process. So you're not having the company that makes the product and the Players Association taking those two bites out. The distributor takes a bite out. The shop takes a bite out, and then the end consumer has to pay for all of that. So they're paying for four people to take bites out of it to get their end. So you see a lot. I think it's going to be a lot better for the hobby shop and for the collector at the end of the day, to be able to get better products at a better price. And I feel a certain way about a certain company in Texas, and I don't hesitate to tell my customers about it. But I couldn't have been happier too when both these big companies got their one-uppings, and when Fanatics backdoored them and took the licenses away from them, because I think they were high on the hog thinking, no one can ever mess with us. We're perfect. We're doing great, eating their lobster and steak. And all of a sudden one day they're like, ooh, we better update that resume. So it's going to be very interesting to see. I'm happy to be in the forefront of it. And wax is one thing we've never been, and I hopefully will never be reliant on wax sales. Drives people in the door to come buy wax. But I have probably close to 750,000, if not a million singles in our hot corner, plus a few 100,000 back here that haven't made it. And we're talking from $1 up to slabs, so graded cards on the floor. I have 10 plus showcases full of cards and memorabilia out there. people come for the wax, but they stay for the singles and the memorabilia and I believe the camaraderie and the customer service we provide. So, wax is a necessity, but not what's driving our business. And there's some shops that rely on wax solely, and we'll see what happens. We'll see how it lands, but be interesting to see what happens with the Fanatics. And let's go. I'm ready.
Yeah, it is going to be interesting. That's one thing we can agree on. I don't work for Fanatics, Tim. You know that. Just kind of reading between the lines with some of the things they've sort of let out. Um, I think they want to go direct to consumer, but I also agree with what you said too. They're going to have a store division, and what you said where everyone's kind of starting on equal ground too, to get on that store direct account. So I think that's good. The distributors, if I'm a distributor, we talked about sort of the card companies kind of having that you know invincibility, or what they thought was invincibility. I think the distributors were doing stuff too,
Yep.
and Fanatics knows that they're not, and I think that's really where they're already known for their direct to consumer model, and I think they do want to bring that to cards. And but I also like the fact I've heard them mention they're going to have like a breaking division where they supply breakers, like you said, an LCS division, and even a direct to consumer model. So it's the distributors that, if I was a distributor, you're not a distributor, I'm not a distributor, I'd be a little bit walking on pins and needles, if you will.
Yeah.
Uh, More so if I was them than some of the other divisions, if you
Yeah,
will.
no, definitely. I mean, I can see them doing a direct consumer with like an eight, like how they have Tops has light and Panini has H2. So a certain product like that, where if you look right now, Tops truly doesn't sell their own hobby products on their website. Now it's usually a retail box. It's an online exclusive only, which you can't get from your distributor. I love that about what Topps does, and I think maybe that's something that Fanatics looks at. The one thing I have a problem with is Panini when they release their own hobby boxes. Now, I'm not talking first off the line when they do Dutch auctions or any of that stuff, but when they put their own hobby boxes on their website on release day. So, say like what just came out was Certified Football. I think they had it for like $205 on their website. Well, I can tell you as a shop, we were buying it from our distributor close to that price point. Now, what happens to us when they can go and buy it from Panini, the company that made it, for 205 on the website, or they can come in my shop and buy it for 225 or 250 or whatever the shelf price is, because I have to make enough to be able to buy the product, pay the guy to sell it, and or just to put it in the system, right? Or just pay the shipping to get it. You got all that's got to be included in it. And so that's the one thing I did not like with I don't like what Panini does there, is because they're undercutting the hobby shops that are supposed to be supporting with this product. Now Topps doesn't do that, so maybe Fanatics looks at doing something where it's something that's not available direct to hobby shops, it's direct to customer. I think they're going to have a high end where they work with auction houses on some very nice pieces, very high end stuff. I believe they're going to support breakers in a certain way and treat it different than a hobby shop as far as the way they get product. So it'll be interesting to see. I think you see the way they get product out, and the reason that the manufacturers currently don't do that is because they didn't want to pay for them. They don't even physically make their own product. They use a company to print it, right? They use another company to distribute it. They really just come up with the idea. They put it out. They say, you print it, you ship it, you sell it. We're going to sit back here and work on the next set that's coming out and what cards we're going to forget to put in. So that's that. And I think Fanatics like, hey, we already know how to ship stuff out. We have all these ways to get it out to the public. Let's figure that out and let's cut the cost so everybody can enjoy more of the product.
Yeah, I've heard a rumor, and that's all. Everything is speculation, right?
Yep.
Until Fanatics confirms or releases a press release. But I like this. If it does come to fruition, you tell me what you think. But I've heard of them even doing a product where the stores, like your store, would get the hobby version. Retail, Walmart, Target would get sort of a retail version, which is what we kind of have now. But they'd also even make for breakers that were in their breaking division. they would get sort of a breakers product. They would have, whether it be different inserts or different color parallel, there would be a difference. There would be stuff in that breakers box that you couldn't get from coming in the True or going on Fanatics website
Yeah.
and buying and doing sort of these. So no matter where you go, you have the chance to get and actually make it more interesting. Hey, I want to get all of this, so you could buy from all these different levels. Obviously, this hasn't been confirmed. It may never happen, but if it was true, what do you think of doing a product along those lines?
No, I agree. I mean, you already look now too, is that when they have all these different releases, the different like I'll give Panini's. They don't own Panini yet. Maybe they will. Who knows? Maybe it's happened. We just don't know. But what'll happen, what you'll see is they have different color parallels in like Target boxes and versus Walmart boxes. H2 has a different parallel. They have Tmall. That has a different one. Hobby, Mega Box. They have all these different releases that they put out under the say Donruss Optic, right? But they go 100 different ways. And if you want a specific color, you know what product to go and where to go get that. I think they could do that going forward. I think having the Topps brand, no matter if they own Panini or not, Topps Chrome will always, I think, with collectors, beat out Prism. But National Treasures, Topps really doesn't have anything like that. So I think they would blend the two brands, something like that. And if they don't end up buying Panini or haven't or won't or whatever, I still think Fanatics will do quite well. Coming up with some new names or bringing some stuff back from the 2000s or 2010s that we haven't seen in quite some time that will drive customers and collectors to want to collect more and bring I think more people back into the hobby, because the easier I think what happened is now it was so hard to get stuff and so expensive it scared people away, and hopefully it'll kind of it'll bring the price down and let a little more people get into it and open at a reasonable price. So we'll see. I'm excited.
Yeah, I think for me, I'm a Brooklyn kid, so when the whole Cops news broke, it was a little. I'm not gonna lie, I've said it on the show, little shock to the system, right? Um, but I don't disagree with what you said, right? They got sort of complacent, maybe lazy in design, if you want to go that far. So I guess I'm excited to see what kind of new approach they're going to bring. I'm excited on that level, at least, Tim. Everything. The one I get asked a lot. I'm sure you get asked a lot. What do you think? Is this going to be good? Is this bad? My answer is like there's going to be some good things that come along with this, but not everything is going to be good. You got to give them, if you're looking for like a perfect 10 or everything they do is going to get a thumbs up from you, you're wishful thinking. There's going to be stuff you don't like that they may do. There's going to be stuff I don't agree with, and we might be on opposite sides of the aisle. So if you're thinking that they're going to just nail everything out of the park, you're not going to like it. But give them a little bit of time before you sort of kind of come in with your verdict. I mean, what do you think of that
Yeah.
assessment?
Oh, no, I definitely agree with that. You're not gonna please everybody, no matter how perfect you try to be. Trust me, doing this shop, we try to do everything the best way we can, and you still can't make people happy. I can tell you that. And they try hard. And the one thing I can say is like, Topps just made a mistake, and it's sitting right next to me. We bought a bunch of Topps Chrome. We still have it here. Silver packs, right? So they made a mistake. It took them a minute, but they got to it. They put these out. Now, to me, they're not glorious or the best things ever. But guess what? They're trying to make up for their mistakes and trying to fix it after the issue came up. But they came out and spoke about it. I was happy they did that. And so I think that you've seen kind of with the Fanatics people already being involved, that since they own Topps now, that hey, listen, we're going to try to react to things that are going to happen. Just know, no one's ever going to be happy. Someone's always going to be pissed off, and there's always going to be mistakes that happen. But it's how they react and how they try to fix them. They'll make up the difference. And just having maybe some new blood and somebody that's not so high on the horse, have been doing this for forever and ever. That little change of perspective could always be. It can be terrible, it could be good, but hey, listen, I think there needs to be a change, and this is interesting times we live in, and we're going to see, I think, quite a bit of change in the future.
Yeah, no doubt, and interesting it'll be to see what direction they go, and we'll be along for the ride. Enough about Fanatics. Let's talk about when the show airs
Yeah.
a week from today. You guys are doing a show. Is it in? It's Sacramento, right? It's in
Yeah,
Sac.
it's right outside Sacramento. We call it the Sacramento Autograph and Sports Card Expo. It's in the town where our shop is, Rockland. It's a suburb of Sacramento. We're 25 minutes away from the heart of Sacramento. They have a very nice event center here. We rent it out. We have over 60 dealer tables. We have I think we're almost to 20 autograph guests that are going to be there over the 2 days. We're going to have a 2 day show. It's a Friday, Saturday, November 18th and 19th. Friday is kind of a preview day from 3 to 7. We're going to have free autographs. Oakland Raider, I'll say Oakland Raider. Lincoln Kennedy's going to be signing for free. Former 49er Dan Buns, who made the stop in a Super Bowl for the 49ers. And one of my favorites, and Emron promote him as Oakland A. Willie Wilson, but he's Kansas City Royals legend. Willie Wilson will be there Friday for free. Saturday, Eric Wright, the former cornerback for the 49ers, and Sacramento King, original Sacramento King from the 1985 team, LaSalle Thompson, will be doing free autographs Saturday. But we have guys like Rudy Rudiger signing on Friday, the actual guy, not Sean Astin. Rudy Rudiger, the motivational speaker, he's going to be there hanging out with us. We have on Saturday, John Taylor, Jack Clark, Dan Issel, Artis Gilmore, Tom Rathman. We're going to have Rikishi. We're going to go into wrestling guys here. Rikishi, the Godfather, Victoria, some guy named Sergeant Slaughter, who is not only a wrestler, but a freaking G.I. Joe. Are you kidding me? And then we're also having Thomas Ian Nichols. Nichols. Yeah. And if you're not familiar with the name, he was Rookie of the Year. He was Henry Rowan Gardner, and he was also Kevin from American Pie. So two movies that hit my childhood perfectly. He's going to be there. It's gonna be awesome. I'm so excited to do this and to work with these athletes and sit down and do signings with them and to have the local dealers come here and be part of it. We're trying to do something bigger coming up, hopefully next year, as the Sacramento Kings hit the playoffs. But it's gonna be a lot of fun. Autographs, I think the most. Oh, we're gonna have. I forgot Jose Canseco, Miguel Tejada. Yeah, I mean, when Jose sign, he'll sign anything for anybody. But Miguel Tejada has not been on the West Coast doing signing for quite some time. He's coming from the DR to sign and hang out with us. He's the most expensive autograph we have, and it's $35. Everybody else is in the either the free range or $30 range. Most are there. Miguel's at 35. They're doing inscriptions, all kinds of stuff. We're gonna have JSA on site, so they're gonna be able to authenticate the autographs you get done. But also, too, if you have autograph pieces that you haven't had authenticated, you got them when you were a kid. We had a guy bring in a Roberto Clemente autographed baseball the other day, and it wasn't authenticated because he got it as a kid in the parking lot at a Giants game. And so we got authenticated for him. And so they're going to be on site to authenticate items. We're going to have goodie bags to give away. It's just going to be a wonderful time. I'm very excited to see what happens. And there hasn't been an autograph show like this in Sacramento in probably a few decades. They've had people do a signing here or there. We've had people in the shop before, but no one's put this many people signing in an autograph show in Sacramento in, I think, at least 20 years. So,
and in hearing you rattle off all those autograph guests, I mean, definitely heavy California flavor, which is
yep.
good. Obviously, if you're in that area, those names are going to hit home to you and probably be desirable and in demand. And like you said, many of them free. Can't beat that. There's nothing less than free. And you mentioned Tejada, who's not a big signer and coming in for the day to do it. And is this the first show you guys have put on?
Yeah, this is the first show we're doing. So we were like, hey, I thought we'd do like 5 or 6 guys because we've had signings in the store. We've done like 6 of them. We had Raleigh Fingers, Horace Grant, Vita Blue, Alex English, Rick Barry, all come in the shop and do signings. And so, hey, we've had one at a time. Not bad. I thought we'd do 5 or 6. And then the names just kept going in. We announced Rikishi, and then wrestlers started calling us to sign. They said, hey, we want to come. Rikishi's coming. We want to be there. What can we do? And it was like, okay, Jose found out Miguel that Tejada was doing the signing. Jose called us and said, hey, how do I come in up there and sign? How can I come hang out with you guys? So it's, we signed, we had agreed with John Taylor, and he goes, hey, I think I can get Rathman in on this and maybe Eric Wright. And we're like, okay. And so we called Rathman. He's like, yeah, I heard, what's up? What do you need me to do? When should I be there? And so it's been great. To me, it's mind boggling. There's so much stuff going on right now behind the scenes to get it done. We're going to try and make it as perfect as possible. We know it's not going to be, well, you know what? We're going to go have fun with it. We're going to have a great time. And I'm just excited to be able to be one, like behind the scenes, and really one pushing this and making it happen for Sacramento. And, hopefully this is the first of many we do. I know there's a lot of shows out there. This is more of just a local show. The local dealers, we just added the autograph guests and hope to get bigger and bigger one day. We'll see. But, I know show fatigue is kind of a thing. We want to talk about that, but I'm excited for what we're doing. It's just a little bit of a bigger version of a local show than we normally have here.
Yeah, that's a huge version of a local show. Give yourself a little more credit than a bigger version. It sounds like you started out kind of thinking a little smaller, and it just got all this momentum. Hey,
Yeah.
this guy wants to be a part of it. This guy wants to be. It just kind of, you tell two friends, I'll tell two friends, and now you've got this huge. It's a huge show. I don't,
Yeah.
20.
No, it is. And we had to limit. We had to cut. We had to say we can't have any more signers, and because there's just not space or time. And dealers too. I was like, hey, we originally we could have about over 80 dealer tables, and I had to take some of the space away for some of the signers and some of the things we're going to do. So, the venue right off the bat within a month and a half was not large enough for what we had started. What was snowballing into what we're doing, and so that's exciting. I just know it's going to be wild. And the crazy part is, it's like the week, as we come up here, Thanksgiving is right around the corner too. So it's like, hey, why not? Our grand opening was on the Saturday following Black Friday. We're celebrating that. That's kind of why we did it in November, celebrate our 1 year anniversary of being open. But here we don't do anything small. We kind of just hey, if we're going to do it, let's do it big and bright, and let the chips fall where they may. And hey guys, we're here with all the bells and whistles, and that's kind of the way we go about it. And I love it because I'm a boisterous guy, and I'm loud, and I like to go out and have a good time. So we can do that and present that with our shop and our show. Then hey, let's do it. What's going to happen? What's going to happen? We're going to step on some toes. We're going to make some people upset, but we're going to have a lot of fun doing it. So why not?
Yeah, go big or go home, right, Tim?
Right?
Yes. You go all in, right? You either gonna win or you'll be done. But 20 guests, all with California flavor. You're gonna make a lot of people happy Friday and Saturday. If you're listening to the show on release date or a few days after, it's this coming Friday and Saturday. I don't want to spend a lot of time on it. You kind of mentioned about show fatigue. What are your thoughts on that? We're seeing all these big shows kind of come out of nowhere, even in cities that haven't hosted them before. On one hand, I think that's a great thing. If you can have a show in an area where people can get to experience it where they didn't prior, that's a great thing. But you think we can get into an area where there's too many and it gets to be another show, that sort of sentiment?
Yeah, I think we're there. I think these big travel shows, these destination shows, really, if you talk to the folks in Dallas, the Dallas show was a local show. And it only became a big thing in the last handful of years as the pandemic hit. It was one of the first ones, I think, to kind of come back. And so people were eager to go to a show. So it's like, hey, Dallas is easy to get to from anywhere in the country. It's a hub. You can fly direct, usually from most cities, into Dallas and get in and out. So that makes sense, right? But then when you start having, Vegas has a show, right? I heard this Las Vegas show was not well attended. Some people did well, some of the dealers, but I heard a lot of complaints. And it's like, well, there's so much more to do in Vegas than just do a card show. So there's a lot of other ways to spend your money there. I know there was a show recently in Del Mar. Talked to some of the dealers locally that drove down there. Del Mar is very expensive, friends. If you've been to San Diego or lived in San Diego or from California, Del Mar is like the Beverly Hills of San Diego. You have to have a few dollars to be there, to stay there. It's very expensive. And if you stay in San Diego where it's cheaper, then you have to have a car because you're going to have to drive like 30 minutes, if not longer, to get up there to Del Mar to enjoy the show. So I think it's like placement of these shows, having them back to back. I think if you have the National in the middle of the summer, which I think is great. I think they should just, if they're not going to put it West Coast, which they'll never do because nobody wants to travel out here, that's fine. Just leave the thing in Chicago. Quit moving it Atlantic City, Cleveland, wherever. Chicago's got 2 airports. It's a hub. It's easy to get to Chicago from anywhere in the country. I know nobody wants to do it down in Dallas because, Panini's down there. They want to get on their free trip and go out of town. Dallas would be another option. I think that'd be easy to get in and out of. Think about that. But anyway, these other shows maybe have a semi, like they used to have like what they called the Eastern, National East Coast one. They had a West Coast National. There were smaller shows. I know Burbank show is well attended. They have another one coming up, but it's the week of the Super Bowl, so I don't understand that. Is that planned that way, or did they not look at the calendar? I don't know. But if Burbank does a big show in SoCal, that'd be good. Someone down the, you have the Santilli show, which I know is really well attended, and there's some other East Coast shows that are well attended. But they're a large regional show. That's great. But when you try to do these big national shows and you have these guys traveling show to show, they like you watch with Breakout Cards. One of our customers, Mojo Sports, not Mojo Break, but Mojo Sports Jay. He's one of our, I'd say, friends of the shop. He's traveling around doing his YouTube videos and his IG videos, all that stuff from all these shows. But I talked to him. He's like, man, he goes, sometimes like I don't know what city I'm in, or there's just so many of these shows he's going to, and he's like, they get overwhelmed with the shows, right? I think there's just too many of these quote big shows to go to, and there's no difference because it's all the same dealers traveling show to show, and it's like a traveling circus, the same guys, and there's no variety, and they get tired of seeing each other. And then the people traveling shows are seeing the same guy they just saw in LA. Now they're seeing him in Vegas. Now they're seeing him in New York. Now they're seeing him in Dallas, and it's like, well, we're just following each other around. We all have the same stuff. So I think that maybe scale those back. Do more local shows, pump up your local show. I know Bo Thompson, 1 Million Cubs, does the Madison Card Show, and that's grown to over 100 tables or something. They're doing fabulous stuff, but they're growing a local show that wasn't there in Wisconsin before and building it. We have one called the SAC Show that's been going on for here locally for a decade, if not longer. And, the reason we're doing our show is because it's the same guys. We want to bring in new dealers. We want to bring in autograph guests. We want to kind of do that 2.0 version of a show. Hey, we set up there. We love the guys. We want to support them and support our local guys. But sometimes, you got to up your game a little bit, but it doesn't have to be this big to do. It's getting different dealers from the area, asking some people to travel in, maybe get a signer or two. But I think that when you try to do these monstrous shows with 300, 400, 500 tables, it gets too much, and everybody has the same stuff. And when you have the same dealers, all those big shows, nothing changes because it's the same inventory flipping hands, just getting up with the same dealers.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said except one thing. I'm a New York guy. I've never been to California, but I think you guys should have a national. And I can only speak for myself, Tim. I would gladly make the trip. Now I wouldn't want it in California every year. Move, Chicago, wherever. It's not for me. But I always have said, I've been on my show and said, it was. I know Atlantic City wasn't a popular venue, but it was nice for me to be able to drive to it. Well, if that's good for me, right? You on the West Coast should have that same, benefit if you could. And California is a huge hobby hotbed. Why not have a show at the National California? I have to go, right? I'll go.
Yeah.
I'll get to go to California for the first time.
There's a great convention center in Anaheim, which is with almost, I think, walking distance of Angel Stadium, Disneyland. It's all right there. It's easy. There's multiple airports in SoCal to get to. The thing is we had, as you see him stalking behind me, Pete and Emmerich, they went to the National NAC. You know how hard it is to get from Sacramento, California to Atlantic City? You got to fly into Philly and then take a train, a car, a helicopter, a bus to get up there. If you want to fly into Atlantic City, you might as well, just cash out your 401k, sell off your PC, and then you could fly directly into AC. But then you got
Yeah.
to fly on these little planes, and they weigh you before you get on those planes to strategically place you, so the plane doesn't go down. And so like I didn't want to go because I'm like, it doesn't make sense for me to pay $1,200 for a airplane ticket to go. I would love it for once just to go back to Anaheim. I think they had one in '91 that was huge. Bring it back. Let us have one. But I know a lot of the dealers are Midwest and East Coast guys, so it's farther for them to lug all of their stuff out. But that's why I'm fine with Chicago. Chicago's a great city. There's a lot to do, lots of places to stay. Um, but a little more West Coast, maybe Denver. I don't know. Bring a little closer would be fun for us. But I think that the local shows need to step up their game a little bit, and I think we'd see less of these gigantic shows. And you wouldn't believe. I can just tell you from doing the autograph signings that how much these retired players are willing to show up and do a show. And
Yeah.
you just put it out there and reach out to the representative. It's easy to do, and they're hungry to go out and do it. And you'd be surprised at the names you could get by just asking. The worst thing they're going to say is no, or give you a stupid price, and you're going to say no. But it doesn't hurt. If you ever want to reach out to me and talk, we can do that. I'm easily accessible, easiest on Twitter at Big Shep Cards on Twitter, also IG. But I'd love to help out and talk the hobby. So but shows are fun, and it's just these big
Well,
ones I think are a little
and
overdone.
and I'll say this too, Tim. You mentioned the East Coast dealers, and I am one. I don't set up at the National. Excuse me, but he said, well, they won't want to go. Well, they don't have to go. They can kind of sit that one out. They can fill their spot. They don't necessarily have to lose their spot, but they can fill that spot. And California, Anaheim, you mentioned, which it's been there before. You can get your national. I'm an East Coast guy, and I try to be fair to the whole country. And if that means, 1 year where I travel a little further, then so be it, right? And if the West Coast has to travel to get to most of the ones now, I think it's just only fair. If some dealers can't make it, then that's unfortunate. But if they wanted to set up, they'd find a way.
Hey,
You can
we
ship
do.
your stuff. Yeah, you
The
can
West
ship
Coast
your
guys do.
stuff. Yeah, so there's what it's just they don't want to more than that they can't.
And
So
I think they speak louder. They've been around longer, so maybe as there's turnover in those dealers, it changes. So we'll see, but maybe one day, and we can be hopeful that it'll happen. So
yeah, well, Tim, I know you're very busy. I appreciate you giving Sports Card Nation some time. Take your time. All the
yeah,
credentials your own. The stores where people can see what you're doing, what True Sports Cards are doing. Go ahead and give out all that stuff.
yeah. So True Sports Cards and Collectibles, Rockland, California. I like to say we're open 7 days a week. Some shops aren't. We're open Monday through Friday, 11 to 7, Saturday 10 to 6, Sunday 10 to 5. We do a lot of buyings on Sundays. Kind of set that day aside to do buy a lot of big buys. You can find us on Instagram and Twitter at True Sports Cards. You can find us online at truesportscards.com. We're doing the website for the show is sacsportscardexpo.com. You can check us out there. Buy tickets. We're doing mail-in. All that stuff's on there. And we have tickets for the show available, tickets for the autograph guest, all available there. You can always follow me on Instagram and Twitter, Big Shep's Cards, and reach out about anything in the hobby. I love talking the hobby. I did a podcast for a couple years. John and I did one together with a big group on the Hobby Hotline. Part of that, I'm very proud we were on that show early on, and I'm thinking about getting back in the podcast game. But honestly, if there was 25 or 26 hours in the day, I might be able to do it. But it's a lot of work, and again, it's all the glitz and glamour of being on and hearing your voice, but no one sees the behind the scenes, getting the guests, doing the technology, making
Preach, brother.
the notes and all that stuff. Nobody sees that stuff. They just see like, oh, look at how fancy this podcast is. So always check that out. But I love the hobby, love talking it, and I'm very grateful to be able to wake up every day and this is what I do at 42 years old. If I told my 10-year-old self this is what I was going to be doing, and I had a beautiful wife and two lovely kids, and I owned George Brett rookie cards, that kid would have kicked me and called me a liar, or started to cry and say, "Thank God you did something right." Every day I count those blessings, and some days the kids are ahead and the wife are ahead of the card shop. Some days it's others. Depends on how each one's treating me. Don't tell my wife that, but no, it's a lot of fun. And John, I appreciate the time and let me talk about the shop and the show. And guys, continue to listen to this guy. He's a lot of fun. He's knowledgeable, and he doesn't pull any punches. He's going to tell you how it is, and that's what I love about John and what he does and what he puts out. So thank you very much.
Well, I appreciate that, Tim, especially coming from you. I'm happy for you, man. You're in a
Thanks.
better place. Family, personal life, workspace, healthier. You look great.
Thank
All
you.
that stuff is just you can't put a price on that stuff because there is no price to put on that stuff. And so, keep killing it, man. Keep doing great. The show is coming up here
Yep.
next week, so. If you're in that area or you want to do a little traveling, that's cool too. Check out that show. 20 guests. That's a local show with
Yep.
20 autograph guests.
Just 20.
Yeah, that's insane. So we have one here in Syracuse, and if we have one or two, it's like a big deal. So
Yep.
there you go.
Well, thanks, John.
But
Appreciate
thanks.
you.
Yeah, thank you, Tim. Take care, man.
You too.